show people. Okay, so thank you guys so much for having me in Louisiana. I'm really excited to be here. Um, I really like the vibe here. Even just flying in was really cool and kind of seeing. I don't know. I spent some time in France, so it's kind of like nice to see what the mixture would be if America had a French had a French background. It's kind of neat. I want to warn you before we get started. This is what it might feel like today. I know that everybody says when you give presentations, like keep them short, and I want to keep it short, but this might be what you're going to feel like today. This is you, and this is me, and I'm real happy about it. If you are at any point like, oh my gosh, there seems like we went a mile wide and a foot deep, but I want to go really deep, you can go here. There are resources here. Feel free to take pictures, by the way, of any of the slides. You guys can, like, if you're like, oh my gosh, this slide, I just want to keep, just take pictures, or you can email me later and I'll send you the slides, okay? So are we all agreed that we're in for this journey? We're okay. All right, I have questions. And since there are so few of you, I can hear from very, very many of you. What is practice? Yes. I hate it when somebody is more concise and accurate than me. Yes, it's a repeated behavior. That's actually really smart. And I want you to keep that definition in your brain. Does anybody else have like a definition of practice that they want to put forward? Or yes?
Like an intentional process to work towards a goal.
An intentional process to work towards a goal. Yeah, if you put those two things together, you just had a very good psychological understanding of practice. Anybody just give me a definition that is more related to your experience and less what you'd see in Webster's? Yes. Vague. Does that hit with anybody? Yeah? Anybody else?
Overwhelming.
Overwhelming? Does that feel accurate? Monotonous. Yes. Sorry, I'm just so happy you brought that up and I didn't have to. Anybody else? Okay. Why would your students, even what you said, the great definition, why are your students motivated to do that? Okay. So they want to be better. Okay. And what about the ones who don't? Do they practice? Okay. You're like, yeah. So the ones who want to get better, they're willing to go through monotony. What were the other ones? Vagueness. They're willing to go through that because they know that somehow this practice thing will make them better, right? Okay. Anybody else have an answer to this that they want to share? Yes.
To an extent, grading.
Grading. So you get something out of it, right? Okay. How do your students know when they're done practicing? Okay, you gotta tell me why you laughed.
I don't think they don't know, really, because oftentimes they go in without any sort of, goal in mind or whatever, and so they just kind of play, and they're like, that's good enough, I guess. And, I mean, the majority of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Certainly, some of the kids who kind of understand, what they need to be doing, but I think a lot of them just they have no clue how to practice or what they're accomplishing. And so how do they know when they're done? Either when they get bored or when their chops are shot or something.
Does that sound accurate? Does anybody else have actually, I want to add to that. Anybody?
Sure.
Yeah.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that. And I also saw that some students think that they're finished after a certain amount of time. So if they want to practice law, so they think they're finished after a amount of time. Some of them are finished practicing when their teacher says that it's good enough. And some of them that are a little more tenacious. They feel like they're finished practicing, or maybe they never feel like they're finished practicing.
Okay,
some of them might feel like they're finished practicing when they can't get whatever they're trying to improve wrong anymore, and they can get it right consistently.
So can they get it right? Okay. So you just said 3 things that were really, really good, and I'm so happy right now, because you said run down the clock. They feel done when they run down the clock, or they're so self-motivated that they never feel done practicing. And how many of you ever? Maybe Louisiana's different because I'm from Oregon, and I have heard in my life, you're never done practicing. The minute you close your case, somebody else is opening theirs. Is there ever been in? That's happened here? Okay. That's really life-giving, isn't it? It's not. Okay, I got to keep going. You mentioned something about like, I'm done, I guess. When your students are done, when they feel like they're done practicing, they feel really good about what they just accomplished, or either blase, like, or whatever, I don't know, how do you, like, kind of, oh, I guess I did it, or yes, I feel totally confident. You got those kids? A mix. Okay. When they're confident, are you as confident with their practice as they are?
Over time.
Okay. Okay. Let's keep going. We kind of hit this, didn't we? But let me ask, how do you guys feel about practice? When you practice, how do you feel while you're practicing? What?
I mean, there's so many emotions, like frustration, happiness. I mean, there's, like there are times when you practice and you feel like, well, that was a wasted hour or whatever. But then there are other times when when you're like, oh yes,
The freaking king of the world.
I made progress. I can play that, now, and so for me personally, it's all ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's accurate. But I'm curious. Anybody else? Yes.
I definitely agree with that. Where I really enjoy practicing, and I'm not here, so it's kind of, but I really enjoy it just because I get to keep working on skills that I want to get better, and just have something that I get to keep repeating in order to improve. But it gets frustrating because the things that I'm working on, like embouchure, where it's things that are going to take a while, and at each practice session you're getting closer towards hitting that goal. But it gets really frustrating when you're working at it for a while and you just know it's not there yet, but it's going to get there. Where it's again like that kind of mixture of feelings.
Okay. Yes.
I'm never going to feel satisfied with a practice session until it sounds like how I want it to sound, and that can take weeks, days, minutes. But
So there's no peace until it's here.
for me, yeah, that's just kind of how my brain works.
Okay, great. Were you raising your hand?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I agree with Colton, but it's kind of like finding a peace in the idea that you're never going to be done.
Oh, interesting. Okay, we got to move on. Just raise your hand if the answer is yes. Do you get excited when you get to practice? You're like, I got to go to the practice room. Yeah, you guys get excited? To practice what? That's a good question. Okay, all right. How do you know when you're done practicing? Do you have a defined, this is how I know? Yes.
So, like my first year is kind of just like aimless time practice, but this year I've been focusing more on like, okay, I want to do like these 16 bars, and when I can play this confidently, and I don't have to like repeat myself or mistake, that's when I know I'm done with that section. I'm done with that practice.
When you can play it confidently? Okay, well, this session isn't going to do anything for you because you're already here. All right, let's keep. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to give you the quick, like, wham bam understanding of music psychology. And the reason I want to give you a wham bam explanation of music psychology is because you're teachers. You don't need to go get a master's degree in psychology to really meaningfully use psychology, music psychology right now. It's sort of like, how many of you, if a kid came in with a horribly scraped up knee, would you be like, oh no, go to the emergency room? What would you do if a kid came in and they were just bleeding? Like not like a gash, but like they just really biffed it, hit the concrete. What would you do?
But I would console them and be like, hey, what's going on? Let's get this taken care of.
And then how would you take care of it? Don't say send them to the nurse. If there was no nurse, what would you do?
Have them clean it gently, give them some instruction on, look, one of the out, just put some rubbing alcohol.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm going, these are leading questions. There is definitely, okay, why would you clean it?
Because you've got to solve the underlying issue. If you don't clean it, it might be infected, the problem might get worse.
How do you know about infections? Are you a doctor?
I'm not a doctor.
Are you a microbiologist?
I'm not.
You're like, I'm not a doctor yet. The really cool thing is we got this technology, we got increased knowledge, and that increased knowledge made everything better. We got this technology of the microscope. It showed everybody, it verified for everybody, there are germs. That knowledge started at the top. It started with doctors and microbiologists, but eventually it became common knowledge, and now there are many less deaths of infection, right? You don't need to know everything about germs to clean out a wound. You don't need to know everything about music psychology to be really, really using it effectively, because most of the people cleaning out wounds are not doctors. They're parents. But most parents aren't doctors. That's the level of knowledge I want to give you. So here you go. Here's the brain. We all good with this? Huh? Well, actually, it does have to be a Porsche 911, partially because I like them, but also because it's rear-engined. So let me show you, okay? Here is your student's brain. If you were gonna open your student's cranium, this isn't what you'd see, but this is how it'd be done. There is a trunk in the front, there's an engine in the back, and of course there's a driver in the middle where all the drivers go. What?
I said, this is amazing.
Okay. You like it so far? Sweet. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the trunk. Put the heels of your hands kind of right where your temples are, and then just cover up your forehead like this. Okay. So if you go about an inch deep, this is the part of your brain that thinks. It's the only part of your brain that thinks. Is that surprising to anybody? I'm asking because it was surprising to me when I found that out. I was like, I'm a whole brain thinker, and actually that's really not correct. This is where you and your students will put any information that you need for a journey. So like when I go on a trip, I have to pack everything into my bag, or if I'm going on a road trip, I am packing everything into my trunk that I will need for that journey. That's what we pack here. We pack information, okay? So this is words-based processing. I'm gonna actually get really deep into it. Let's talk about words-based processing. But first, if you have a student and you are having them look at something and say, that's a quarter note, that information lives here. It's important for you to know that, and I'll tell you why in a second. Oh, actually, let me tell you about this words thing. This whole part of the brain does not think in words, actually. It can, but the part of the brain that creates language, take your thumb. I'm going to do the kindergarten teacher thing where I'm using my right, you use your left, so you don't have to mirror. There you go. Put it on your temple. Okay. That's the amount of brain space you get for language production, for making words. Okay. Power in the brain is determined by surface area. This is what you get for making language. Two thumbs, if you put you really flatten your thumb right behind your ears, that's what you get for understanding language. That's where, yeah, kind of like up and around the back of your ears, yeah. That's what you get for understanding language. So as you're listening to me right now, you're using these parts of the brain. And as you are formulating questions, you're using this part of the brain. This is going to make sense in a minute. Okay, ready? This back part of your brain, here's the engine. So ready, here's the trunk, Here's the engine. So if you were to go up your neck, and I have not thought of a better way to do this, so if you're grossed out, sorry, go up your spine, up your neck, and when you hit that kind of divot, you feel it? Okay, if you were to skewer that, you'd have a cerebellum kebab. You'd have a hindbrain kebab. Okay? Anything you can do physically, any movement that you can make physically that you could not make the day that you were born, has been learned by this part of the brain. So every movement you make on your instrument that you can do without thinking, it's loaded here. All automatic movement. Thanks. Yeah. So for example, and I don't mean to brag, but I have been standing and walking without even thinking about it today. Right? So this is not autonomic. So it's not heartbeats, because you could do that the day you were born, right? It's automatic. I'm going to give you something here. It actually doesn't belong here. Bye. It actually doesn't belong here, but you know what the hindbrain loves? It loves repetition. It loves it so much. That's why you can kind of click pens over and over and over again without, and you're not thinking, oh, I'm clicking a pen. That's why somebody else has to tell you to stop. The thinking brain hates repetition. It 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 hates. Are you picking up what I'm saying? Which makes practice a problem, because practice is repeating something which this guy loves and this guy hates. And we are going to get into the more of that later, how to handle that. Okay, let's keep going. This is the midbrain. So this is where, hi. I am so loving you right now. You're like my hype guy up in the front. Okay, guys, hi. How are you feeling? Have you never had that happen in a session yet? Yeah. Okay, so what I just did is I activated your midbrain. This is the part of the brain that it's instincts, okay? And it controls autonomic, meaning things you do without ever having to think about it, like heart rate, right? And I can affect that in you very quickly, right? So this part of the brain, it does blinking, it does heart rate, and it acts before you can think. This part of the brain is stronger than the thinking part of the brain. Because none of you, before you all levitated like this, none of you were like, well, gosh, I'm startled. I should hop. None of you processed that here. You all just levitated, right? I'm giving you all of this information, and the rest of my session is about tying it together. This is really important, though. This middle part of the brain that I can activate very quickly. This is a part of the brain that actually is integral to decision making. This is emotions. This is where your emotions live, okay? If you don't feel good about something, you won't do it. You won't engage with it. Some of you might be feeling like, hey, I can make decisions without my emotions. That's what I'm really good at. Respectfully, no, you can't. I know it's really annoying when people put a bunch of text on the screen. You can take a picture. I'm going to tell you the story, okay? There's this great guy at University of Southern California, which is a fantastic institution. And he did a study on people with damage to the midbrain. So damage particularly to the emotional centers of the brain, where these people had a hard time feeling. They couldn't really. And he asked them simple questions. Do you want a turkey sandwich or do you want a chicken sandwich? They had access to their trunk. They had access to all the information, and they kept asking for more information. How many calories does the turkey one have as opposed to the chicken? How much riboflavin? Like, what's the vitamin B content? All that stuff. They kept asking, but they could not decide because they had no preference. A preference is an emotion one way or another. They had something called analysis paralysis. They had so much information but no preference, so they were unable to make a decision. And they kept doing this. They're like, hey, what about this sweater or that sweater, this team or that team? Like, they asked them, they kept asking questions, and they just could not reach a decision. This is where motivation lives. Okay? Emotion, the emotion of motivation. Do I want to do this thing? It doesn't live where you think. Where you think, what you think can impact motivation, but it's not going to. Let me get there. There's one more thing about this part of the brain that is really, really important. This is where music lives. Being able to understand the expressive sound around you is a survival issue. Yes? When I screamed, you could have plotted it on a staff, yeah? If you're in the woods and you hear, what is it, double 16th note, 8th note rhythm crescendoing up, your midbrain is the first thing that will hit. It'll go, holy crap. You're not going to be going, what color's that? What color's that animal? You're not going to be doing that. You're going to be like, I got to go. Music, in sound, your midbrain processes it first. So when you hear music and when you make music, it is coming out of the deepest, most instinctual part of your brain. Music teacher, you're the only person in your school that works in this part of the brain primarily. Everybody else is just trying to. Their writers, actually, Kurt Vonnegut, one of the most famous writers of the 20th century, said, every writer I know would rather be a musician for this reason. Music is going to make a bigger emotional impact than any words can, and much more quickly because of where it lives. You guys feel like we got an idea of these sections because I'm going to go into implications now, okay? The emotional state, the midbrain state of where your student is at that moment will determine what they are capable of doing. And I said we were going to talk about practice. Are you guys already a little bit ahead of me with this? Like, you guys see where we might be going? Okay, let's get into it. At every point of the practice process, the midbrain state of your student will be crucial. So let's talk about it. What does practice look like? Have you ever seen a practice map, like an actual, this is what practice looks like? You have? Oh, fantastic. So you can go if you want to. Did it look like this?
It was more so like just a roadmap rather than practice that had to break it down. So it wasn't like
This is from psychology, a map of what it takes to get competent at something. So you start, when you start practicing something and you don't understand it at all, you're figuring it out. So when your student says, I figured it out, they're here. They just started. Practice is a very long process. And then after practice, you actually have to spend time engaging with the thing emotionally. But we can get more detailed. Feel free to take pictures if you want. But I have these actually also in my, oh, I'll have them tomorrow. I didn't bring them. My goodness, Allison. Can we talk through this? Okay. Unconscious incompetence. So incompetence, what does that mean? It's not that you don't know, it's that you can't do it, right? Unconscious is, I don't know, incompetence, I can't do. I literally don't know what I can't do. Every kid who walks into a band class is in unconscious incompetence. Like, I don't know. Every time you pick up a piece that you've never played before and you're like, whew, you're in this space. The longer you're a musician, the less time you spend here. But if you are teaching younger kids, they're here a lot. Okay, conscious incompetence. Anyone want to take a guess as to what this is? Yeah. Yeah.
You know that you can't do something.
Yeah. That sucks. I am very aware of the thing I can't do. Conscious competence, probably not what you think, so I'm just going to give it to you. I can do it, but I have to be thinking about doing it the whole time I'm doing. This is the most time you spend in practice. I have to think about what it is that I'm doing all the time. Somebody want to take a guess at unconscious competence? I'm going to go, yeah. 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 I can do it without thinking. For musicians and for artists, there is a fifth place. Most people, this is where they stop, right? When you are in a math class, if you can do the thing without really having to think about like, oh my gosh, what was that formula again? You're here, you win. When you can read a Shakespeare, sonnet with, and you're not thinking through the words, but you can just say it, you're here. And that's where it stops. Musicians get a fifth place. I call it sublimity. It is sometimes called the flow state. Have you heard of this? You know what I'm talking about. The flow state is when the forebrain is so well packed, when that trunk is so well packed with everything you need, and the hindbrain is so fluent that the midbrain can engage. And you can actually tie your emotions to what you're doing. In the brain, that's what a flow state is. Did I just blow your mind? Yeah? Okay. Can I tell you another thing that'll blow your mind? Because I got so excited about blowing your mind. These are informal studies so far. Not informal, but there's more work to do. They have done scans of brains when they're here. You get some in like the emotional centers of frustration, different like areas that are kind of, frustrated. Here you get like some areas with joy and interest. When you get to here, blood in the studies that they've done, blood shoots up the brainstem and the whole brain gets flooded with blood. There are only two things that accomplish this: that kind of flow state in musicians and cocaine. Ecstasy, ecstasy. Gosh, and do I not have the, I'm gonna go find something really quick. Give me just a second. I wanna show you the most common emotions, and you can take a picture of this. We've gone through this now. These are the most common emotions that you experience at every state, at every point of practice. Pre-discouragement, right? I'm discouraged and I haven't even tried anything. Yeah. So the question for you, teacher, is, do you know how to capitalize or engage with every single one of these emotions? Do your students know that these are the emotions that they'll experience? Do they know how to handle it? What do you guys think? I actually kind of want to turn it back to you now. Looking at this, what are your biggest thoughts? This guy looks like it blew his hair back. Okay. Yes?
Self-talk can influence stuff. Like, I can't do this. I'm going to stay in the conscious incompetence for a while, probably.
Right here? Yeah. Pre-discouragement and frustration. So pre-discouragement is, I can't do this right now, which means I will never be able to do it, so I quit. This most often happens with highly talented kids, right? I'm going to go back to the other slides in a second. There is a way to deal with pre-discouragement. Frustration would be like, I tried this 3 times and it didn't happen, and then it slides into prescriptive, like it'll never happen. I've tried, right? I have a resource. I'm actually going to show it to you. This is not going the way I thought it was going to go, but let's go there, huh? Oh, you can't. Can you see? No, you can't. Hold on. I'm going to show you my whole thing. Okay, this is my website and free downloads. I want to show you something. There's a bunch of free stuff on my website. This is the practice map that I give to kids. Let's see if I can get an actual picture of it. Here we go. Assuming the interwebs. Okay, take a look at this. This is the same thing we're looking at, right? But this is the one I give to students. I have a card that I give to students, and it says, figuring it out, practice, and prep to play. And this is what people mostly say in their time. They start with, this is so cool, right? You get a piece of music and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, I'm gonna get it, right? Then you go to, what does this mean, right? Because you're trying to figure it out. Then how do I move to make that happen? How does this work? And now we're in, how does this work is like, okay, I can do it, but how does it work? And then we get into conscious competence. Somebody read this out loud to me. Does anybody recognize this? Okay. Anybody feel this so far? Okay, what's this? Okay, but you give this card to somebody and it's free. You can download this and print them. You give this card to somebody and say, this map only goes one direction. If you are here, why am I still making mistakes? You cannot go backwards. It's impossible to go backwards on this unless you stop. But if you keep going, you're going to get to, yeah, go ahead. And yeah, and then I understand why it sounds this way. This is where this happens, by the way. People who try to put this over here, they're going to cause conflict in their students. Their students are going to feel stupid because they're not there yet. I'm moved by this music. And then they're back to, this is so cool. This is a practice map you can give your students. What's that? Okay, yeah. So cool. I have taken more time than I thought I was going to, but here's what I want to know. I actually just want to have questions at this point. You can see that I was going to get into, if you've got boredom and frustration, what do you do about that? Boredom can be all these things. Because boredom isn't just one thing. You can be bored because of habituation, which means I've done this so many times I actually can't think about it anymore. It's sort of like, it's called semantic satiation, where you say a word so much it loses its meaning. Boredom can be that. It can be mental fatigue. It can be disinterest. Music teacher, if I can give you anything from here, it would be all that brain stuff. Take that with you. You can use that Monday. But what I would also give you is take time to understand midbrain stuff. Because if you know, this stuff is all, I'm not trying to pitch this. I have a book that goes through all this stuff. I'll tell you how to get it if you want. But all of these things, the more you invest in understanding where your students' midbrains are, the better outcomes you will have in every single one of your classrooms. Sorry that I'm leaving you with such a vague thing here. But actually, the reason I'm leaving you with it is because I've got about 10 more minutes and I want to take questions. I want to know what you want to know. Yes?
Okay, so the thing I've been thinking about for, I don't know, I guess 24 years now, is you get these kids that show up as a new kid, right? So I'm a high school banker, so say it's a 9th grader that shows up. And this happens, it's every year that it happens. And I look at my assistant band director and say, that kid's going to make All-State. And they never even make an All-State.
Interesting.
What that kid is kind of clearly living in one of those areas. But how do you break through to that kid? Because they have all of the things that they need. They just need to get past the boredom of practicing properly. But I can't tell you, it seems like every year there's 10 kids
Okay, I'm gonna take it because I'm actually really excited about that. Did you all hear what he said? There's one kid. That kid's gonna make it to All-State. I'm assuming because they're super talented.
But it's generally because they seem to have the fundamental skills at that age, which tells me that if they just put in some work to grow those skills, and they never put in that work, which I just find that weird when you're good, but you don't, like, what am I not doing as a band director to get that kid in the brain to go to that? I don't know.
It's not you.
Oh, good, I can leave now.
Yeah, you can go. I said that the brain is like a car, right? And cars have different engines. You wouldn't pit a Honda against a Bugatti because the Bugatti would get there faster. I've got a Honda engine myself. Like, I'm not shading anybody. I can get wherever I need to go, but there are a lot of people who will get there faster. Okay? If you've got a kid who comes in and it seems like they've got the fundamentals, you assume that they've done work. They might just have a real big engine and everything came really quick to them. Right. So most often when you have a kid, that kid really knows their stuff. They're going to really go, and they don't.
They just kind of have that natural.
Yes.
And they don't do the.
Because they don't, though, here's the deal. Because everything comes naturally to them, they actually never go through this process. They are here, and then they're here with easy stuff, which means they never have to do this. And this is where you build strength. This is where you build strength. Going through this over and over, going through all the emotions and actually dealing with the bad emotions, because you have to deal with some bad emotions here and turn them into joy to be a good practicer. If you never do, yeah. Yes?
So would it be more beneficial to do that to like something more challenging right off the bat, just to understand that there's work involved in the process, or
What?
Or will they quit, like if they saw something?
First thing I do with super talented kids is call their parents. And I say, wow, thank you so much. I'm so glad that your kid is in my program. I want you to know, I see they are really talented. Let's have a chat about that. Because really talented kids tend to quit when it gets hard. And then their parents go, yeah. And so like their parents are well aware, right? And so what you're going to say to the parents is, I am going to challenge them because I want them to get in a state where they're uncomfortable. And when they're uncomfortable, I want to help them work through that discomfort. That's my job. I want to help them work through that discomfort because they are so talented. Let me show you something else. Here is what happens with most students. Okay. This is how the American system is set up. We build up their forebrains, we pack those trunks like crazy, and we don't actually teach them how to handle their own midbrains. We don't teach them how to handle the big emotions. So they're left with all this knowledge, but anything can push them guy, right? Just sweep the leg, and this guy is taken down by like a geriatric woman. Okay, this is what I was going for yesterday. That's why. So then my job, if I see that they skipped leg day, is to gently introduce them to leg day. You don't want to necessarily do that by throwing them in the deep end and going swim, but you do want to give them something heavy for them that is going to make them work. And then as they're working, you want to say, that burns a little bit, right? Let's try this. Take a second, let it burn. It's supposed to burn, right? Oh yeah, you're supposed to suck at this. You're supposed to. So I'm not sure why you're upset, because you're supposed to be sucking right now. I don't like sucking. Why? Why? What happens if you suck? What happens if you make, you know what happens when you make a mistake? Nothing. Nothing happens. No tigers come out. You don't die. Yeah, you do get better. But you can actually just say, because the actual concern for most kids is, if I make a mistake, will you get mad? And the answer is No, man, nothing, literally nothing is going to happen. Okay, does that answer that question? Yeah, talk to their parents because he's gonna wanna quit. Here's the process I'm doing. I am here for you. I want your kid to be resilient, so this is what we're gonna do. More questions? Anything else? Because I've got 5 more minutes. Yes? My schooling? Okay, to be doing this? Okay, so I went to school in 2000 and I was getting my degree in ethnomusicology. That was a bad degree for me, but I didn't realize it until I had a family tragedy and had to leave school. I ended up working at a Montessori school as an assistant, and they said, "Hey, can you teach music?" And I was like, "I suppose." I didn't have any ed experience, and I started teaching and didn't know anything. So I was going from the anthropology of music, which is what ethnomusicology is. Like, why do people do music? And then I had all these kids who had all these diagnoses. So I was reaching into music ed like you would not believe. And I was reaching into goldsmiths and the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, which is where I'm from, and, you know, like the Royal College London. And I was, because that's where all the work is being done. And I couldn't get there. So I was working with professors there. I'm now finishing a secondary degree at the Royal Conservatoire, and will be working through my doctorate through RCS in St. Andrews, finalizing the research, but I've been doing this for 18 years. Yeah. So, yeah, if that makes sense. Any other questions? Yo. Oh, yeah.
What's it called?
Making Musicians. You can get it on GIA. I actually, if you don't hate the sound of my voice, I put my audiobook on discount on my website. It's like 10 bucks. But it's also on GIA if you like print books. So yeah, sorry. Yeah, the only problem with the audiobook is the content is really good, and then I'll get to something and I'll get excited and be like, hold on a second, I just have to tell you this one thing. So if you, so yeah, anyway, yeah, so it's there, you'll see it. Any other questions specific? Are you like, you said something here and it made me think about this one kid, or it made me think about this situation? Two minutes. All right, thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I'm going to be here tomorrow and I will be able to, like, please come talk to me, because the whole reason I do this and I'm not teaching right now is because all of this is better in your hands than it is in just mine. So I'm really invested in getting as much or anything that you need for music psychology to just in your hands. Thank you so much for coming, guys. I really appreciate your time. Okay, good.